Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lessons from Life.
My name is Lily Anderson, and for 6 years I worked as a waitress in a small family restaurant on the edge of town. The pay wasn't great, the hours were long, but I loved meeting people. Every customer carried a story. Most just never told it. One cold Friday evening, an elderly man walked into the restaurant. His coat was old, his shoes were worn, and he looked completely exhausted. He quietly sat in the corner by the window. I walked over with a smile. "Good evening, sir. What can I get for you?" He looked at the menu for a long time. Finally, he asked softly, "What's the cheapest meal you have?" I pointed to a bowl of chicken soup. He nodded. "I'll take that, and a glass of water." As I brought his meal, I noticed him carefully counting coins in his pocket. His hands trembled. When he finished eating, he looked at the bill for several seconds. Then he called me over. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I thought I had enough." He opened his hand. He was $2 short. His face filled with embarrassment. "I can wash dishes," he said quickly. "I don't want charity." I smiled. "It's already taken care of." His eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I paid the rest." He shook his head. "You shouldn't have done that. My mother always told me that kindness comes back when you least expect it." He smiled for the first time that evening. Before leaving, he folded a small piece of paper and handed it to me. "Don't open it until I'm gone." Then he quietly walked out into the snow. I unfolded the paper. It simply said, "Thank you for treating me like a human being." That sentence stayed with me for years. Life moved on. I got married, had a daughter, still worked at the same restaurant. Then, nearly 10 years later, something unbelievable happened. One afternoon, a black luxury car stopped outside the restaurant. A man in an expensive suit stepped inside. "Are you Lily Anderson?" "Yes," he smiled warmly. "I've been looking for you." I couldn't remember ever meeting him. "My name is Michael Harris. The gentleman you helped years ago was my father." I froze. "Is he okay?" Michael looked down. "He passed away last year." "I'm so sorry. He talked about you until the very end." He reached into his briefcase and placed a sealed envelope on the table. "My father asked me to give this to you." Inside was another handwritten letter. "Dear Lily, that night you believed you paid for my dinner. The truth is, you paid for my hope. I had just lost my wife. I had sold nearly everything to cover her medical bills. That evening I wasn't just hungry. I was ready to give up on life. But your kindness reminded me that strangers can still care. You changed more than one evening. You changed my future. Thank you. Edward Harris." By the time I finished reading, tears blurred every word. Michael smiled gently. My father rebuilt his life after that. He started volunteering. He mentored struggling families. And every year, on the anniversary of that dinner, he secretly paid for meals at restaurants across the city. He called it Lily's Day. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "He never told you?" I slowly shook my head. Michael laughed. He said, "Kindness isn't kindness if you're expecting applause." Then he handed me one final envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000. I immediately pushed it back. "I can't accept this." "You have to." It was my father's final wish. He said, "Find the waitress who reminded me the world still has good people, and help her help someone else." After thinking for a moment, I accepted, but not for myself. Instead, I started a small community fund. Every month, it quietly paid for groceries, school lunches, medicine, and emergency meals for families in need. No advertisements, no newspaper stories, no signs, just quiet acts of kindness. Today, whenever someone asks why I became involved in helping others, I tell them about an old man who couldn't afford $2. Most people think changing the world requires millions of dollars. They're wrong. Sometimes it only takes $2, one warm smile, and the decision to treat someone with dignity. Because you'll never know how close someone is to giving up, and you'll never know how powerful one simple act of kindness can become. Years may pass, faces may fade, but kindness has a way of traveling farther than we could ever imagine. And sometimes, the smallest gift creates the greatest legacy. Please like, comment, and subscribe this channel to see more heart-touching story. See you in the next video.